Playday 4 of the NAL. Welcome, everyone. Another day packed with 5 best of ones where our teams are looking to secure a top 6 finish for playoffs. I'm your host, Ginny, joined with Fox and Lax. And yesterday was a bit of a proving ground even further of what our teams can do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, as the weeks go by, it's only going to get more and more stressful for all the teams involved. And we're slowly making a way. Yeah, the games in the middle will still be decisive, but the teams at the top are getting a comfortable lead. The teams at the bottom aren't.
I mean, I believe we also said those matchups in particular were going to look to be the closest, and I'd say the stat lines for those would really speak that into the existence.
Yeah, we started off with NVOXG, and something that we were talking about yesterday for OXG specifically was like question marks in regards to their map pool. How deep can it actually go? And it was a conversation about whether or not that's something that they're hiding or they're looking to play off of it.
I mean, yeah, you said it yourself. You know, they can hide it as the best of one, so if you can keep playing one of your best maps, I mean, go for it.
Slay.
Yeah, absolutely. When it came to the SSG Cloud9 game, preparation for Cloud9 did not really match up. SSG looked in full form, and obviously we saw a couple borders as well yesterday, and it was pretty exciting to say the least.
Yeah, it was good to see the Wildcard versus Shopify. I thought that was going to be a good one, and it was, but the big outlier of that matchup really was Dash coming into fruition and really finding his footing, but just couldn't get it done.
Yeah, not at all. And a team that could get it done was DZ. They absolutely swept the floor with M80. Not what we were expecting. We thought it was going to be... Yeah, very respectfully. We thought it was going to be much closer of a match. And then to finish it off, we had the game that somebody had to win. So
I mean, someone definitely had to win, and it was Orgless. And as we talked about, there were some definitely things that we could take away from both those teams. But the biggest thing was Orgless getting their first victory, their first 3 points. We saw at the end of the game, their celebration, how much that win actually meant for them. So it's good to see some light coming from those.
Yeah,
guys.
but then Cruelty is obviously sitting at the bottom with 0 points. DZ, 9 points in total. Like, the difference between the bottom of the leaderboard and the top is absolutely insane. And I think, like, OXG really is that team right now that's sitting right in the middle to just like separate the top dogs from the rest of the league.
Yeah, I mean, it could easily go either way if Cloud9 start getting some wins, even Orgless getting some wins. Yeah, obviously.
Did you just say that?
Yeah, I mean, Orgless might get some wins. I mean, they got it against Cruelty, and Cruelty was at the bottom. I saw some people talking in the Twitch chat yesterday saying, like, we need low spec, which I didn't know times were so dire, but obviously, you know, Cruelty still got some games to make it up into that top 6. That's what they're aiming for, so hopefully they can get the ball rolling a little bit.
Hey, they could have fell flat yesterday and just let Orgless completely sweep them. They did keep the game close. So on that note, they are being competitive, just not getting that win.
Wow, look at you actually not being a negative Nancy. Like, you're in such a great mood. But the games that we have going on today, M80 against Wildcard. Our first game, but also our game of the day. And I mean, looking down at this table, I don't know. Which one do I really want to watch besides the first one?
I'm actually really looking forward to the first one, just for the simple fact, M80 really got tested yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
They played against Envy. They played against Cloud9 first. We gave them praise, saying they're looking like a really good team, but then they actually play one of the upper echelon of teams and just get stomped. And then for Wildcard, it's a constant bit of improvement.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the games that the stakes matter, which is that M80 Wildcard game, but at the same time, we just highlighted it. Orgless OXG, I mean, if Orgless get that win, they would bump to 6 points. They would be tying OXG. So just like we said, one game could switch the tides. We could easily see teams start to bump down, teams at the bottom jump up. So obviously, I mean, those are the games, you look at them, you probably be like, I don't know, will they be the most exciting? To me, I think so, because there's the most on the line, and pressure makes diamonds, and obviously we need some of these NA teams to start becoming diamonds.
I like that.
Yeah, not bad. I was going to say, why are you fronting for the gram? But either way, the first game I am very excited for is going to be M80 Wildcard. And when we're looking at M80, as we already touched upon a little bit, this is a roster that yesterday got very respectfully absolutely walked by DZ. And then we're looking at Wildcard, and this is a team that the honeymoon phase is over. They're having troubles. They need to like troubleshoot. They don't know what's going on. And that's something that today is going to get tested. But M80 first, can they shake off what happened yesterday?
Well, I would definitely like to believe that they can. As we all know, they did win that Manchester Major, so in that alone, they do have that in their back pocket. But I mean, yeah, it was
that was like
definitely
last year, bro.
Yeah, but it shows the resilience that this team has. They've been in the back end. They know what it's like to be able to lose and be able to bounce back. But no, it was definitely a very big surprise and kind of shocking to see the result. As we talked about yesterday, was going to be the match of the day, but it definitely did not. And on that front, I mean, again, in terms of prep, in terms of everything that this roster roster has, it did not look like the prep was there, because once they switched to their attack half in particular, we just saw them fumble. They were going for these aggressive rushes, and kudos to DZ on their end. I mean, they were just playing very well together. They knew how to immediately shut down these rushes. We also heard from the Citizen in that interview, you know, given their prep, given their energy going into this match, they knew exactly how they wanted to approach M80's aggressive plays, and especially on their attacks. And I also have to give it back to Hot and Cold in terms of, you know, talking about consistency with this team. Whereas we talked about that Cloud9 game where the Cloud9 just kind of looked like they were playing ranked. Even in the sense of this M80 game, it kind of looked like they were too flustered. They didn't understand the correct approach after each rush was getting thwarted off by DZ. And it comes back to, we got to get back to the drawing board. We got to figure out these adaptations properly going forward, because if you're going to go against the top teams, you are going to struggle hard towards the end, especially if we get into playoffs and they make it.
Absolutely. I mean, you could see it in their play, especially when they swapped all of the attacks behind the blitz rushes. We were watching it, them going up metal, them rushing through customs. It didn't really make sense. The game plan didn't really have some stability to it, especially against a team like DZ that is very slow-paced, that when they can post up, they can hold their angles. It didn't look like M80 had anything to disrupt that.
Yeah, and Wildcard is a team that they're going to be going up against, and it feels like Wildcard, we've been singing their praises because of what they've shown us at Reload, but I don't feel like they've shown us anything at the NAL where we can be like, oh yeah, they're so back.
No, not at all. I mean, the issues have really been coming to Wildcard. I mean, we've talked about it coming into this stage that, yes, teams are going to be watching them a lot more in-depthly because they were the team to beat going into Reload, or leaving Reload, as so to say, and now they're having a whole different set of issues. It's really coming down to the confidence. Their playmaking isn't the same that we saw in Reload, and obviously we've harped on it a lot, that it comes down to the fact that all the players aren't really in the same location. It's a big thing for your team not to be there. With having Dash and Baby Shark so far away, that obviously is going to affect your confidence, which in turn is going to affect your playmaking in the server. So that's their biggest issue that they're trying to overcome at the moment.
I mean, for me, it's how long do you want to hold on to that for? You already have to accept the fact that you aren't going to be playing together, so you have to make it work, whether that's outside in practice and bringing it here into game day. And that's been the biggest thing for me, is we're still seeing that consistency of improvement, but by no means are we seeing that life that we saw during Reload, and that's where they were excelling the absolute most.
I mean, we want to talk about Wildcard's consistency. Something they've been consistently doing is not performing, specifically Dash. I mean, this is his stats from Reload. He was the best player on Wildcard going into it. We sung his praises. We were so impressed with how him coming, learning a different language, being able to learn English to play on Wildcard, and to find that success, to then jump into the NAL stage. And he's one of the worst players on Wildcard currently in the league. I mean, obviously being 1-8 on entry, he was so pivotal in that Wildcard team getting those entries, and that is the first step to problem solving. Is if you can't get that first pick, if you're constantly playing 4v5, obviously it's a whole nother mountain to climb. We know Wildcard has everything in their back pocket to be able to fix things, but if you're losing players so early on, especially players like Dash, I mean, it's just so devastating. Not to mention, obviously, we're harping on him a lot, but Baby Shark too. So that distance of them being in Toronto, not with the team, it's really looking like that is the biggest factor holding Wildcard back.
Yeah, but it looks like a completely different player is actually on the server. It's not even Dash, considering when we're looking at all these stats. But the map veto as well is now ready, and when we're looking at this really has to be something where both of these teams feel comfortable, because they both have something to prove. M80 here needs to prove that they can dust off what happened yesterday and come back swinging. Wildcard needs to prove that they are working on those issues and they're making progress as time goes along.
Yeah, if you're M80 here, I think you're going to a map where you can really flex the individual performance of your own team, just because Wildcard right now, they're having their own gun skill issue. Consulate is going to be a map that, out of all the games that Wildcard have played this stage, it's the only map that they actually ended up beating SSG on. So it is a good map for Wildcard. At the end of the day, it still comes down to getting inside the building. And this is a good map that I'd expect M80 to go to. Use an SSG style of game plan, which is fight people on that entry. Don't let people into admin. Don't let them into CEO. And that's the first step. So I don't think M80 is really looking to let Wildcard execute or set up at any point throughout this map.
Yeah, and I'd agree with that. And this is definitely a comfort pick for Wildcard. They have the 3 C's, Chalet, Chalet, Consulate, and then now Club. I mean, we are ending here on Consulate, and this is a big pickup for Wildcard. They are strong in this map, but what really made them strong in this map, it goes back to Dash, being that initial entry, being able to create that space. And you're going to go against M80 that is going to learn from their losses yesterday, going against Darkseer, where they couldn't make headway, but they're going to start on defense here. They don't have to make that headway. They have to stop that headway from happening. And the biggest headway that was being made was from Dash. So if I really want to see and put my cards on Wildcard, it has to start with Dash.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, for their match that they did win against SSG on Consulate, a lot of of it came down to playmaking, being able to solve problems before they started. A lot of it was on Kansan's shoulders, but we highlighted it yesterday. Wildcard knew what they needed to do to break down SSG. Hopefully they know what to do to break down M80. Obviously, M80, if they can just shoot their way through the problem, which that's what they're going for at the moment, because they just believe that they are the better aimers compared to Wildcard in the moment. So obviously, it looks like we're going to have a matchup of Brains versus Bronze. Bronze? Did I say that correctly?
Yeah.
Bronze? Yeah. All right. Pretty impressed with that.
Yeah, but I mean, they also have Fabian, so there's a little bit of brain there. Either way, when we're looking at the predictions in terms of what team we do think is going to be able to close this out, are we sitting on M80 Wildcard? I mean, I like that there's a little bit of disagreement. Finally, something that we can talk about a little bit.
I mean, I'm choosing Wildcard just because when you look at everyone's stats line and how well Wildcard really has been playing, it's really been off of Dash just not performing. Where if you put Dash in some of those 1v1s that he's lost to those engagements that could turn into a double kill, triple kill, whatever that looks like, I do believe Dash will find his footing here. And if they do, it's a reason why I'm sticking with Wildcard.
Yeah, I agree to a certain extent. I think we can't be harping on the fact that Dash and Baby Shark aren't with the team anymore. Wildcard needs to shake that off. They need a statement game today, but M80 got walked yesterday. We talked about it. So I believe they're coming in with a fire in their stomachs. They want to get this win. They want to maintain that top 4 positioning for them.
Yeah, I'm sure they are, and we're ready to head into our first game of today. And our casters for today are going to be Ollie and Lynx. So Ollie, welcome to the NAL. Lovely to have you. And Lynx, also welcome.
I think it's pretty lovely to have me too, to be honest with you. I'm excited that I'm back. Ollie, fresh off a trip to Greece, is redder than the tomato from VeggieTales, and I am trapped in a white void. But we are going to be trapped on Consulate for today's game. Wildcard versus M80. My game of the day, personally, Ollie. I don't know if you disagree, but I have a feeling you don't.
No, I think it's a pretty unanimous decision that this is going to be one of the bigger games of the day. Of course, both Wildcard and M80 are up there in the standings right now, fighting in and around. We've got M80 at that 4th place. We've got Wildcard with a point to prove in that 8th spot. But I think Wildcard, I feel like they've got a lot more to show us. And I don't feel like you can look at the leaderboard and go, yep, this one's clear-cut one way or another. You look at the loss that M80 suffered yesterday. Ooh, they're going to still be stinging from that.
I know, but that's the thing. We need to see how well that loss will age. Not because I think, you know, DZ are a bad team or whatever, but DZ might just be the best team in the league, and getting 7-2'd by them, that might be a fate everybody in the league faces at some point or another, depending on how good that team is. So M80 are just looking to bounce back, like the desk said. Yesterday happened. You don't have much of a turnaround between yesterday and today. Put it in the back of your head and get the game plan going against Wildcard. Both of these teams playing Consulate last week in the NAL. Wildcard beating SSG 7-5 and M80 beating Cloud9 7-5 on this very same map. Wildcard starting on the attacking side have banned Azami and Clash, one of the, I suppose, most oppressive defenders I think people feel in this current meta. But that being said, we've seen a lot of different options for these defensive bans with the new 3 bans coming in, Ollie. Azami, Clash, a lot of the usual suspects still getting taken off the board.
5 seconds to insertion.
A lot of usual suspects, you're right. And I think that with the way that the bans are now done inside of CJX, it allows for a lot more mid-round or mid-game, should we say, counterplay. So you can very much believe that if you see a team having a little bit of success on a particular operator in the opening couple of rounds, you are very likely going to see that removed, and it often changes the dynamic and keeps it a little bit more exciting, to be honest, because it isn't then just a rinse and repeat if a team has something available to them. You know, in this instance, you'd maybe look down the lineup and be looking at something like a Grim or potentially even a Capital that Wildcard are bringing. If that becomes a consistent issue for M80, they can, of course, choose to remove it.
Grim in particular is one of those attackers that has always been, I think, kind of like the 3rd or 4th priority ban for teams, but because there's always a 1 or 2, whether it's Shield, Dokkaebi, or Ying, Grim never got the kind of attention in the ban phase, but we have started to see him creep in, not only into the bans, but, of course, now that he's unbanned, he'll creep into the lineup for Wildcard. Spiker bringing out those 5Bs, but Dash also bringing out the Sens, those ROU projectors, to cut off the lines of sight and carve up the sight to allow for an execute, and Amaru also on the board. When you're attacking CEO, that Amaru tends to go either in the CEO window or the projector window, depending on whether you decide on going for a little fake out or not. With no Candelas on the board, the only smokes being in the hands of that Capital, not a whole lot of options in terms of secondary utility or primary utility for that Capital, so we're really hoping Grim and the Sens can have some effect.
I think it's worth mentioning at this point that, of course, with changes to Jaeger being able to catch Capital bolts now, it somewhat weakens the old hop-in through CEO window, whereas typically we would see a lot of utility just thrown through that window. You've usually got a few more jobs to do in the lead up to that at the moment, especially in the current meta. We've also got a couple of laser gates kicking around, so while this lineup screams a CEO window take, it isn't going to be as simple as that. There's a lot of need for a bit of burn going on here, but we can see Baby Shark with that adrenal stim ready to get himself sent through.
Spiker fighting Gunner tucked inside of that cubby window as Baby Shark flies into the site opposite the diffuser. As Bay looking to put this down inside of the A site. Baby Shark desperately trying to find an angle, but instead it's diffuser and hot and cold on both sides of the site, dueling with different members of Wildcard and both coming away the victors. One head spotted by Kansan, not only the most reliable player for Wildcard, but top 10 player in the league, the only one for Wildcard to have such a statistic. And yet him and Bay, they're going to need to be the ones to bring back round number 1, but with both losing their life, suffocated by the toxic canister, they will lose it completely, and Kansan put on death's door by that toxic gas. Running out of options, very little room to breathe inside of long desk. And everybody from M80 does exactly what they need to do. Reset, hold your angles, don't give Kansan any opening whatsoever as round 1 goes to M80.
I think Kansan was always going to be in a very difficult spot there. It was winnable for a moment, but you saw how M80 recoiled at that point. There was a moment, Kansan gets that one kill and things start to open up a little bit, and then you're just begging for players to stop peeking. Another thing that really came in quite crucially there is the little interaction between Finker's adrenal stim and, of course, the toxic babe canister. You do take a little bit more damage if you are inside of that canister. I guess the idea is that you're breathing a little bit heavier because your heart might be beating a bit faster, and that almost killed both of the 2 remaining players that were on Wildcard alive at that moment. Nice C4 there as well. We get a little bit of a glimpse of that as it was sent out by Hotton. Plant was, of course, attempted in that CEO window. It's so common for the Azami to catapult through into that CEO window, but as we saw with a couple of additions and a couple of little tweaks to the lineup there, it did become very difficult. It wasn't just a utility dump straight through, and something that also really worked well for M80 was the pulse playing below. If you know where they aren't, you likely know where they are, especially on a very small map like Consular.
That's what I was going to say. Wildcard was so focused on just pushing directly into that top 4 setup, which one, M80 were playing passively behind, weren't giving any gunfights to Wildcard. If that pulse is uncontested down below, whereas normally the attack can maybe fake out CEO and go projector or vice versa, the pulse is like, hey, there's only one guy CEO. Unless this guy's got diffuser, it's coming from projector side, so you all should start looking over there. So it immediately called Wildcard's bluff without them even knowing about it. You see the sends drop pretty quickly as we move bomb sites all the way down below. Dash bringing out the blitz. No shields banned on the side of M80, mainly execute off for the moment. See how effective Dash can be with that blitz. He will pick it up sometimes, with the Blackbeard specifically, to help with the shields. But at the moment, as Wildcard took a long time to get set up previously, I'd be looking to do the same thing here.
But a slightly different lineup this time from Wildcard. They're going to be bringing that blitz hot and cold with that early entry. I mean, they brought the blitz. They brought it for about 55 seconds, and we didn't see too much go on. I'm quite bewildered as to how the blitz has died from a bit of a late spawn peak. That seems like something that maybe shouldn't happen, I'll be honest.
It didn't even sound like a gunfight, really. It sounded like a few shots, and all of a sudden, Dash was dead. He was 0-3 yesterday in opening engagements against Shopify yesterday. He's only 0-1 now in opening engagements, but he's 0-2 overall. Baby Shark, number 2 on our list of players to watch who need to step up for Wildcard. They were the bottom 2 players yesterday, and right now they are recreating that. Bay certainly does not have a kill, but at least he has some potential to gather one in this 3v5. Air jabs going out. One will be triggered. Kino waits passively on those yellow stairs. Another one triggered as the player in the connector just keeps taking those air jabs down. Not going to get punished for it. Kino just coming out of that blind will find one. 2 kills might go Wildcard's way, but because that advantage established early on and now compounded by diffuser, Wildcard have been struggling from the starting line to find any bit of momentum in this round.
I mean, I feel like this round was chalked as soon as the blitz died.
It's like,
as
what are you
soon
going
as
to do
Dash dies on the blitz, yeah, exactly. Like, your main idea for the round was obviously to play around the blitz, and M80, they're doing a fantastic job of just not overextending, not overpeaking, getting a nice little advantage early, compounding that, working on it a little bit heavier, Wildcard have been forced into very much, you know, a rush round almost, just trying to scramble, trying to get a pick back. The diffuser hasn't even been recovered since it was dropped by Dash in the first, 50 seconds of the round? It was never going to be a plant-focused round. And with 20 seconds left on the clock and time dwindling, very unlikely that 3 kills are going to get found.
I mean, M80 have just completely vacated the site. They're not even there. One guy's in basement. That's hot and cold with the C4. Shout out.
That's why he's in basement.
Hey, second C4 kill for Hot and Cold so far this game. First one to take down Baby Shark upstairs. Second one to finish off round 2 by incinerating Bay as he hops back into Art. 2-0 for M80. And I would not be shocked if that tactical timeout comes out early from Wildcard. I know it's the attacking side, but you really need, especially against a strong opponent like M80, to pick up as many rounds as you can, and that's exactly what we'll see. I think it's good, too, because we saw 2 different kinds of defenses from M80. We saw one that was a bit more passive. The Aruni was not playing out by vending machines on the first round. Instead, she was held back. But that time, Ollie, that time, it felt like it was border almost. M80 were taking fights at every point of entry, it seemed.
Yeah, M80 very confident on that entry and defending the building, as it were. Very similar, like you say, to the way that you would play a border. Or, in some ways, the way that you would play a ranked game. But it worked out for him. 15 seconds or so left on the timeout right now for Wildcard. Time to try and gather their thoughts on what is, let's be honest, a map that has a lot of opportunities for attackers. We don't really look at Consular and think, ooh, attack's going to have a tough time. Yeah, there's bans, but there is so much available. Now, put that into some context, Wildcard aren't by any stretch the best team at attacking here inside of North America. They currently sit at like 8th or something like that, maybe 7th. At around a 42% attacking win rate. Obviously, the sample size is fairly small. We're on play 4, but we are heading to the almost mid part of the stage. So we've got to take it for what it's worth. We're not expecting them to go out there and win every attack. However, we're expecting them to do a lot better than they did there in round 2. Let's see if that timeout has done anything for them.
Hope that it will. Dash starts eyeing that shield again. Not Blitz this time, but Monty. We'll see if he sticks it as we just start coming out of the operator repick. Pulse again on the board. Not held by Hot and Cold this time, held by Gunner. But both those players will have a C4 alongside Gavini, making for 3 Nitro cells held by the defense. Will likely be very important, as when you're defending the basement site, you know the attack's going to go for that vertical control. Can always be a little bit difficult. The introduction of Rand, you can kind of just throw a boogie drone in and trigger it and leave. Might not end up getting an attacker without C4, but if you destroy a boogie drone in an important position, you won't be complaining, especially with multiple C4s online.
Attacking the garage is fairly straightforward, I'd like to think. Take good control of upstairs. You've got some great tools to do that. You've got a Monty. You've also got the Nomad. You're going to be able to cut off some flanks, place some air jabs out there, get some active drones going that you can be using as flank cameras for someone like Spiker, who really just needs to sit outside the breach until it is ready to be opened. You've got the Monty to gain space. And then, of course, as you mentioned, you throw that ram in. Now, at the moment, Dash is actually clearing out this top floor. They obviously feel like there is need for a full map clear here. And that belt and braces approach might come back to hurt them. They've spent a minute, and they've not done loads.
Even using a boogie drone to actually create some vertical holes on that second floor. Very, very careful about a defender trying to play retake as Kino playing aggressively on yellow. This can be a tricky position for the attackers to clear, as Kino can just sit behind this column, and whether he peeks right or left, he's got the advantage with that shotgun. He's just going to waste time here. Something you see Ashen do on SSG quite a bit. Play this same position to waste time. You can see Dash really struggling with it as somebody also around the corner. M80 have seen Wildcard go for that full clear and have repositioned to contest them at yellow, and they're completely stuck. Wildcard are not pushing forward whatsoever as 10 seconds, another wasted by that smoke. Gunner goes for the peek, but good cutoff by Bay. Able to cut down the pulse as he pushes forward. Kino now in a really tricky spot. Peeks again, will find one. Should be advantage Wildcard as Dash will pick up his first kill of the game.
You mentioned there about the time. It's still going to come back to hurt them. Kino's died on yellow, but he's used his Toxic Babe canisters. He's wasted so much of the clock. And look at what you've still got to go through. 2 C4s, and of course, any Vulcan canisters that still remain.
Wall's still electrified.
That's still electrified. That's going to be difficult now to get done, especially with Diffuser getting that kill onto Dash. A C4 over the top. Bay securing his second kill on the round. Now, a rapid retreat down those spiral stairs and an angle being held onto Yellow. That breach hasn't been opened and isn't going to be off the back of Bay. Maybe a triple will be enough. Baby Shark coming in and Wildcard getting it done against all odds there.
Against all odds, certainly. That round almost entirely won by the man advantage established early on as it comes down to, I believe, a 1v1 at the end. Obviously, one player down, but that 5v4 you get as Gunner wraps around a Yellow stairs and Bay's holding that cutoff. Really thankful you decided to hold that position. Otherwise, it could have gotten really hairy with how close things got. How close things got, not even in terms of man count, but as you said, Ollie, in terms of time, in terms of control, the breach still solid. M80 watching almost all points of entry that we ended up seeing Wildcard push through, save for bottom spiral, which Baby Shark was able to find a clever way in. But that kill right there is certainly the most important to put Wildcard in that 5v4 as Kino doing so much work, wasting time, getting that kill. But M80 were always fighting from behind, and Wildcard able to hit their shots at the right time and in the right moments, able to stay alive and narrow the gap.
You don't want to put it on one person, but it kind of comes down to Gunner. If he doesn't swing, the time was literally just getting wasted. Wildcard didn't actually do anything to get that kill. Gunner just got itchy feet because Kino had played Yellow Stairs pretty much to perfection. Gunner was there to assist him. He probably knew he was being held from the window. And I just think if he holds on for that extra, what, 10 seconds? The round's entirely different. M80 read beautifully into the fact that Wildcard were going to go for that full map clear, and it just gave them more space to defend. I feel like if Wildcard had gone a little bit more direct and secured some flanks early on, it could have been a lot more straightforward for him. As it stands, they are on the board. The timeout was successful, and we can turn our attention now back toward this top floor. A little bit of a difference to what we saw in round number 1. We haven't got the Amaru this time. We haven't got the Bees of Grim this time either. So a slightly different setup, no Capital. It speaks of something a little bit more different, a little bit more across potentially.
And I think to make that easier, very evident by Wildcard's third ban, that smoke. All of these rounds have been quite slow from Wildcard. Opening kills in round 1 through 3 coming almost at the minute mark remaining, a minute 3 and about a minute 15. And while you had Hot and Cold taking on Dash early in round 2, that round still took a long time to get anything close to an execute going. These have been very, very slow attacks from Wildcard, which to be fair, it's Consulate. That's kind of going to be the case sometimes. But when you take down the smoke, it makes sense. But now M80 have just brought in the Tachanka. They can start firing those Shumika canisters around the corner and maybe even to Yellow Stairs as Dash with that diffuser on Blackbeard, looking to be the tip of the spear again. He's struggled to do that so far on these shield operators. On the Monty before, when they went for that full clear, he was successful, but only because M80 weren't fighting them all that much until Wildcard got to Yellow Stairs. But now as they util clear around Yellow and Kino just around the corner, looking to have better success this go around.
Kino again in a real pivotal position right now. Got a horrible job with the shield that's going to start bearing down on him, but the FNAT will keep him a little bit safe. The drone maybe gives the game away. Draw for that secondary shotgun, or the primary shotgun, should I say.
Oh.
A slight glimpse. Can he land the shot? No, the recoil is going to be a little bit more punishing on that, and as such, Dash can just firm it straight through that FNAT. Gets himself into connector.
Ooh.
Well, he's going to get Shumika and maybe even burnt alive.
There you go. Great work. Absolutely clinical work from Hot and Cold right there. I mean, Ollie, they're just playing further back. It's the exact same play, essentially, as the previous CEO round. Don't take any gunfights, really, if you don't need to. Hold your far angles. Use utility if you can. Kino, who's been basically tangling with the players on Yellow Stairs for the past minute and a half, just now gets a kill with 40 seconds left. Swings the shotgun. He snipes Bay across Yellow Stairs. And Wildcard, similar to all of these rounds, have put themselves in a neat little box for M80, wrapped themselves up in one section of the map, and made themselves cannon fodder for the guns of M80's defensive lineup. A 3K for Kino, 1 with the SMG-12, and make that 3 with the shotgun for 4 overall, and a flawless round for M80.
Players have had areas of the map named after them from less than what Kino has just done there from the top of Yellow.
I think
We need to start a petition.
on Yellow Stairs, honestly, you really like, I don't even know, because like I've seen Spirits play there a lot, I've seen Ashen play there a lot, I've seen Kino play there a lot. I think you just got to put like a spray of a shotgun.
Yeah. It's just too good an area, right? And he's shown just how powerful it can be. Anywhere that you can hide at a 90-degree angle to an entranceway or a doorway, and you've got that little bench there or that little table or whatever it is, you've just got a little bit of clutter. There's a few places you can move. There's a couple of different angles you can play. And then when you give yourself flexibility with an SMG and a shotgun, you can take those up close and personal engagements. You can swing with the shotty. You can snipe with the SMG. You've got so much potential right there. Kino, again, very similar to the way that he played back in round number 4. Did a fantastic job in and around those Yellow Stairs. And you've got to credit the rest of the team because they have just sat back and gone, yep, you go for it. If you want to play there and play your life and we can play a little bit further back, then crack on. I think the alarm bell for me there, Lynx, the way that Wildcard just single pushed, it was like the only thing that existed was Yellow Stairs. That's all that existed.
Didn't even try to hop in bathroom window just to try to switch things up or maybe send somebody around for the backstab, because with how long they were on yellow, all of M80's attention was generally drawn to it. Nobody even trying to spice things up with a push on the other side? It's very, very strange. Trying to go quick, though, as a soft wall on the first floor will allow Dash straight into Piano. One player sitting behind it. The castle will suddenly meet the face of that shield. Blinded will back up very quickly as a duel to the death inside of Piano. It's not actually the first kill acquired by Dash. Gavini's able to find one, but the next two, no, he just sprints under the vertical hole. Gavini's still up there. A bit poor situational awareness from Dash, being a bit too careless as he walks under the very angle that just took away Spiker's life inside of Art. And now the blitz goes down again in a round where he could have been pivotal.
You got to give the blitz the kit in that situation. If he's going to be the one getting straight in and getting that control, you rely on him to win that gunfight and then get him to get the plant down. You don't need more players committing to the site, especially when there's so much vert available on that bomb site. M80, they can relax. They know that the kit's down. It has now been recovered. But they can buddy up and get themselves into a really nice position to make this retake happen. Don't forget, a lot of these site walls were left soft. That's now an advantage that M80 can look to play into. There are some castle barricades out there, so hopefully they will have a clear line, but with a quick rotate, Kansan with that diffuser is going to be able to make his way around.
Oh, look at this.
Diffuser maybe on a little bit of a flank there. He's definitely one to watch in the next 15 seconds.
100%. You can see Kansan weary of it. I like getting a hot drone in front of Kansan. This is the player you want in moments like this. Bay watching the flank. Will he turn the corner? Ooh, does spot that lesion. Diffuser cut off by the track stingers too, and he will rotate all the way back. Good find for Bay right there. That could have disrupted everything. Ash charge goes out and Kansan sails right on past it. Close angle held by Kino, but he's decimated by the R4C. No 4K this time. No luck with that shotgun as Kansan with Diffuser takes full control of the site. Diffuser losing health to that track stinger. So low, ripe for the taking for Baby Shark. As a Bay cutting down Gavini, only one bullet's necessary for Wildcard to put their second and a key round at that on the board.
I think Wildcard have done a fantastic job of stabilizing there. They've been able to recover the diffuser, and they've been able to effectively rotate and hit the site. They've decided to go, instead for the top floor of Split, to go for that basement level. And there was a time in that round where you looked at M80 and the positions that they held. They were all sort of in each other's pocket. They were all sort of stacked up on those server stairs, and you think, yeah, great, but we need a little bit more. We need a little bit more of a crossfire. We maybe need a little bit more discipline out of that. And you look at the last couple of kills, everyone gets picked off one at a time. They've gone from being on each other's pockets to then just scattered to the wind and no chance of a trade whatsoever. And it's one of the downsides of that split bomb site. You've really got to commit to where you're going to try and hold. And if there's not enough information out there, then you are going to fall a little bit foul of that. And M80 will be forgiven for maybe not committing a lot of info or intel to the site because a lot of these rounds have been played on the periphery. It's unusual to see Wildcard able to sort of go from a starting plan and then pivot into something else. That adaptation was something that we've not really seen them do yet, Lynx.
No, and as a result, they will get 2 rounds on attack. They have been hard fought, all of these victories, and the rounds they've lost have looked quite one-sided, but Consulate is a defender-sided map intrinsically. All these close angles, all these tight corridors. You saw how difficult it can be to take a position like Yellow Stairs. If you can just be good on your defenses and win enough attacks, you can still close it out, even at a slim margin. A 4-2 half is not undoable for Wildcard, and that is what they've guaranteed by recovering in round 5. For the final site, it will be another first floor, lobby and exposition. Sludge Drone will spot some of those Capcan EDDs, will hack them on the double door. But Wildcard can at least rest a little easy knowing that this round might not be necessary in the long run, but they certainly are going to try to get all they can get.
I like the little addition of the Capcan there just being brought for that last round. It has been read into perfectly. Obviously the advantage of that 6th pick. Kansan can switch over onto the Brava. And it gives Wildcard a little bit more information. And speak about drone operators, and Kansan has got a couple more drones in his pocket. Yes, you can use them to hack electronics, but you can also use them as information gathering devices. They currently up on the roof on that Deimos, potentially waiting for a track to come through, and he will actually get one there over onto Diffuser on that Capcan. Can feed any information through to the rest of his team. May help them to be successful in this entry, but as the track dwindles, the likelihood of that dwindles as well.
Could still be useful to activate Bay later on in the round. They will know the Diffuser's playing a bit aggressive in the Blackbeard. Now with the information provided by the Deimos that Diffuser's playing inside of lobby. Might try to push, but again, they fall off. Starting to look like the wild card of the rounds they've lost, or really the wild card of every single round. Going slow, taking a lot of time, but stuck at a 5v5. This only favors the defense. Bay trying to take a fight with Gavini on that tight vertical angle. Capcan targeted a second time by Bay, confirming again he is inside of lobby. But how are we going to activate from this? How are we going to push forward? As M80 are just holding all these vertical cutoffs. The moment that Wildcard push forward, Gunner can cut them down. Gavini can contest. Kansan will pick up one to make it a 4v4, but the advantage is immediately reacquired by M80 as more key operators go down. Kansan, one of the highest rated players in the league and usually one of the only signs of life for Wildcard, still very much the only one keeping them relevant in round 6.
Very important kill there for Kansan to get. With these vertical angles, they're going to continue to harass the attackers right now. Last-ditch attempt there at throwing some ROUs through, but with the amount of vert that's still available, getting the plant down for Spiker is going to be difficult. He's going to attempt it, but immediately get taken down by Gunner. You just get the feeling that time is going to do the rest. The Diffuser being watched, Gunner with a triple. That's the round dwindling out of existence here as M80 hold on for their final defense of the first half.
And I mean for that round, and I think Ollie, we can now say for that half overall, either it's an issue with the calling of Wildcard or it's an issue with the players not responding to it. For all we know, Spiker was identifying the proms and people weren't reacting in time, but that was a lot of banging your head against the wall with the first initial idea and failing to pivot when it met resistance. I mean, M80 were holding those vertical angles the whole round. The whole round. That was not a new thing that they did halfway through. And so when Wildcard go for that clear all the way across, and they just start running under those angles, minute passes. Minute and a half passes. Yeah. 2 minutes pass. Never rotate up. Only try to maybe take an isolated 1v1 through those vertical angles. And that was it. And that felt like the story for every round. We'll go yellow stairs. Oh, there's a guy with a shotgun. Let's wait 2 minutes and hope for the best. Oh, yeah. Let's try to clear upstairs. Oh, there's a guy yellow stairs. Let's try to clear him and hope for the best. I don't know if it's, again, the calling or trust in the IGL or trust in each other. I am not sure, but there was clearly something going wrong with formulating a good plan against M80's lineup, because the moment they met any resistance, they basically were sat praying for a solution that never came.
It's kind of frustrating. You think about the one round that you kind of wanted them to just do a half clear was the round that they cleared from the top floor down and Kino demolished them on yellow. And you just think, and they ended up winning the round, fair play. But it would have been so much easier if they'd have just committed to a first floor clear.
But how did they win the round too? How did they win the round? Late round 1v1s. With the man advantage, to be sure, they were playing that man advantage well. But it's not like there was some overarching strategy that they won off the back of. No. That breach was still closed. That burn was pretty much all solid. That was all 50-50s, maybe 60-40s in the site.
I think it's a fair representation of the siege that we've seen so far, as M80 come into round number 7, 4-2 up. In terms of the bans, we've seen 2 shields go. We've seen a Blackbird and a Blitz taken away. We've also seen a Fen and a Warden, so bans there kind of speaks to a little bit as to what we've seen so far. We saw, you know, some decent FNAF play. We saw a lot of Warden play, but that was by M80, and of course now they're on that attacking side. They have things like the Ying available to them. Shields being banned, it really does open the floodgates of what's going to be allowed here for the first couple of rounds.
I mean, Ying, Grim, and Dokkaebi. Ying in particular, I've not seen Kino play Ying in a bit. I mean, maybe he has in the past couple months and I've missed it, but it's like an operator that would get banned a lot against M80. But Ying, Grim, and Dokkaebi on the board too, even though she's not brought. This is going to be an execute-heavy strategy from M80 with the blind, the info, and of course the glass to look through these smokes and the shield to rush through. First smoke will go out, will force Wildcard, or at least bait them into popping that Goyo canister, and that's fine for hot and cold. One piece of utility, and now you've burned these 20 seconds early on, but way before you have to go in for the execute. Perfectly fine. Good investment by hot and cold right there. As with that buck down below, Community trying to do some reconstruction, put pressure on these players, pulled back deeper into the site like Dash, who's taken a lot of damage early on.
Yeah, Dash sitting around 50%, but it's going to be Bay, the first player to go down. Gaveni make good on some of that vertical. Immediately flick into his drone just to see if there's anything that he can feed into the team. Obviously keeping himself safe as well, as they are going to be flank drones for him. Diffuser, he's the one that we need to be watching right now. He has the kit, and he's going to start to send some bees into the site. With an attempt at gathering a bit of information. Gunner's position here as well is crucial. You've got Gaveni underneath for anyone that could be playing in behind the desk. Baby Shark, he knows that. What does he do? Does he go for the player that's potentially underneath? He's mindful that someone is going to swing in at some point. A long angle is being held by Dash, and he does have some Shumikas. Worst thing for M80 at the moment is the time. They need Hotton to get into a good position now to really start bullying some players on this Monty.
Here we go. Diffuser going on in with the, well, with the Diffuser as well. Hot and cold, taking down Baby Shark, taking down Dash 2 on that yellow angle. That's the Tachanka, that's the denial. And the smokes used all the rest early on. There's nothing for Wildcard to do. Just sit back and watch as up 5-2, M80 move elegantly into the post plant. A flawless round within their grasp. Spiker will dome Hot and Cold, pop the Montaigne right by Yellow Stairs. But that is, in all likelihood, impactless as M80 do what they do best in these late round advantages. Pull back, reset, and rub Wildcard's face in the mess that M80 have made. As the first attack will go their way, and a 5-2 lead is a scary scoreline.
I think we can let Hot and Cold off for that little bit of a peek there. He was very instrumental in the round. Yeah,
Trolling was sanctioned. Trolling was sanctioned.
I don't even, yeah, oh yeah, it was troll time. I don't even think that Fabian can be mad at him for that. I think that's something you got to bear in mind with this M80 roster. You know, you know that you've got Fabian behind you, and you know that you've got to look him in the eyes at the end of the game and be like, he's going to call you out on it. He's going to tell you exactly what he thinks. So you better play well. And I think that's something that, you know, leads into some of the patience that we're seeing from this M80 roster right now. Certainly wouldn't have wanted to be in the debrief yesterday after that DZ game, because I bet it was quite damning, quite honest, quite brutal maybe, as we know Fabian to be, but it certainly hasn't slowed M80 down at all coming into this fixture against Wildcard. We were pitting this one as, you know, going to be a lot closer than it was. It's by no means over. Well, M80 still need 2 rounds. Well, however,
we pitched Dark
based
Zero
on the
M80
siege we've seen, based on the siege we've seen, it's looking pretty good for M80.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like Dark Zero M80 was game of the day, and Dark Zero they won 7-2. M80 might be looking to do the same thing to Wildcard in our game of the day. Like, I don't know. It's just rough. It's just rough. Like, I don't have anything else to say, because like, what are Wildcard gonna do, Ollie? They gonna take their time out? They're gonna pause and reflect? No, they can't. I'd like to be in the comms for M80.
They can't even take a little impromptu either, because they're on the defense.
Fabian's playing Crusader Kings. He's not even looking at the game. Just unfortunate for Wildcard so far. The desk mentioned as they're coming out of that honeymoon phase, we've been waiting to see them make good on that promise they made at Reload. And to be fair, Close win against SSG, close loss to Shopify yesterday. There have been some very good games from Wildcard in the 3 they've played so far. Another dominant loss coming against a really good team, to be fair, but still the most dominant loss they've had so far coming on the 4th play day. We might still be waiting by the end for what Wildcard truly have to offer as we go into next week. Baby Shark droned upstairs inside a CEO, multiple drones pinging out his position, mapping out the path by which M80 are looking to take and cut down this sentry roaming on the top floor. It's Diffuser with the C8 face checking and aided by that drone. Kino going in for the pinch 2. Hatch right behind him. Will the sentry fall back in time? No, he will not. Very good, I suppose, play coordinated between the two. Monty and Buck able to get a 5v4 for M80.
I mean, you coordinated between the 3 because it was Gunners, Deimos, Deathmark that tracked Striker and Baby Shark initially. So a great teamwork there from M80, and they did it fairly efficiently as well. I mean, there's half of the round gone, but look at the amount of control that they've been able to gain. They've got the entire top floor. They can now look to try and move through. We've got Kaveni still with all of his boogie drones left. They make short work of opening up floor as well. It's not the same as using the sort of skeleton key where you've got to be in there and there's that risk of a C4. There's a couple of things going on. You throw those boogies down and bam, 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 that floor's starting to get ripped up. So really something to be mindful of. Only 2 C4s available for Wildcard as well. Just unfortunate for Spiker. Just stops watching the angle, but you can already see Wildcard, they're backing themselves up. They know that this floor is about to get ripped open, and they're trying to find some better positions a little bit deeper back where they can defend from.
Kaveni reconsidering his position to throw these lows. He gets into that corner, opens up 2 different segments. The time is getting low for M80. We do have to acknowledge that. Those C4s are going to become more and more powerful as Bay puts it right on the underside of those boogie drones and makes it a 4v4 at a very, very pivotal moment. Actually, it was a pre-place by Bay. Spiker and Dash both still have theirs, so they could throw one over towards yellow, detonate this Monty, or dome hot and cold as he peeks out from behind the doorway. Kino does have that diffuser, but he's by himself right now. Only support for that vertical holes, and he still finds 1, but not 2. Dash holding on with only 10 seconds remaining. It's even, it's close, but it's just diffuser, and he's fodder for that SMG-12. 5-3, still a worrying scoreline, but Wildcard recovering after their second round on defense.
M80 just taking too long to clear that top floor. They had half the round left by the time that they'd done it. I commented that they can make vertical quite quickly, but it just seemed to take them a long time to get from that top floor to be in a position to do something about it. The pre-play C4 was a nightmare. Obviously, that immediately got a kill. The vert was opened, but at that point, it's a little bit too late. The breach wasn't done. Too much commitment to clearing out that top floor, and it really cost them. If they'd have had another 30 seconds there, they would have been able to make much better decisions in the heat of the moment.
You got to give them credit, I suppose, for that entry onto the player on the top floor. But yeah, as you said, especially when converting onto acquiring that vertical control, a lot of time spent by M80. And ironically, obviously we mentioned the skeleton key, but with those boogie drones too, we always think of it so quick. You see players almost just kind of like not even think about it sometimes. Just throw it in. They know the spots, they trigger it, they walk away, get on a drone or something. That M80 taking a long time to get set up and might end up costing them. It is a common problem on concept. It's also why they took out an operator like Fenrir. How tight these corridors can be, you don't want to deal with those F-knobs when you're walking down a hallway or trying to take a position like vending. It's gonna blind you, and there's no place you can try to move to evade it. And then when you still, even with some of those operators bans, still start losing a bit of that time. M80 have a gap to be sure, but they will need to keep an eye on it as they move into round 9. Last round before the next set of operator bans, hot and cold again on Monty. Play this operator every single round on attack so far. I don't think he'll stop unless it gets banned.
We have the Dokkaebi this time as well. I mentioned that there are some fun tools for the attackers to use, and we're seeing S3 of them. Monty can be fun sometimes, I'm sure, but namely the Dokkaebi and the Ying does tend to bring a good amount of execute power, and especially with how good M80 have been at that opening pick on the attack, you would expect them to be able to get that pick and use those calls to gather a little bit of information, very similarly to the way that they use the Deimos tracker. Nice nade going out there. It's going to burn the Vulcan canister, and in around 20 seconds or so, we'll free hot and cold up to move a little bit further forward, gain a bit more information, and again, start to bully these defenders around.
He has been very good at that so far. Hope to see him meet that same success. The toxic canister start going out early. One used by Dash. Both the Gridlock and the Monty pull back just a little bit, maybe to avoid that shotgun. Which, speaking of, Kino's got it on the Ying. Seen quite a few players do that. Canadian, for example, when he's been running that Ying, has brought that shotgun. We'll see how it ends up working out. Kino also typically will actually hold this window with a shotgun. He's done it on Deimos before in that Cloud9 game with the M59. Not an uncommon position for him, but maybe a different operator. Dokkaebi call finally going out as M80 again taking a long time to set up. 1 minute and 50 seconds since we started this round, and it is still a 5v5. Players begin shutting off their phones, and M80 still quite stagnant on the yellow stairs.
Not as much value gained as you would like from that Dokkaebi call. A couple of mute jammers well placed, keeping a few people safe. Baby Shark being one of them. Ooh, the C4 is just going to clip on the side of the hatch. Unfortunate there for Baby Shark. I think he was going to try and send it all the way through. He would have been better holding on to it for a time. Another Dokkaebi call now to come through, but Dash is holding the close angle. The time isn't looking great again as we enter that final 30 seconds. And look at Dash and the space he's still got upstairs.
Oh, and look at the kill he's just got. Hot and cold reacts in time. The lone attacker's still on that top floor, but Dash is able to find him. Might be 5 and 9, but he's certainly getting some impactful frags as Baby Shark waiting bottom yellow will clean things up on the diffuser. Damn near a flawless round for Wildcard right there as M80 copying their homework a little bit, moving on to yellow stairs and getting stuck there for almost the entire round.
Yo, Lynx, can I have your homework?
I mean, I have spent the whole passing period doing it. I don't know if it's right.
No, this is where you say like, yeah, sure, bro, just change it up a little bit.
Oh yeah, sure, bro, just change it up a little bit.
There we go.
I didn't know what bit we were doing. I made some up on the fly.
This little ad hoc bit, you know.
Yeah, exactly. A little ad hoc, you know, a little quick on my feet, a little witticism.
We got a Monty and a Goyo coming in as the bans for round number 10 as we just flick over some highlights here.
Really shocked by that Monty ban, am I right?
I mean, the Monty ban was
really big.
What's
shock.
Hot on Call gonna do?
play the. Well, I guess no. All shields are banned. So no, not gonna.
That's what I mean. There's nothing left. Well, no, technically not.
Oh, shut up! You're not gonna play Fuse. You're not Kino.
Why not?
I think Kino would do that. Kino would play in Shield to bring out the Fuse, but not Hot and Cold. He'll go to Gridlock. I will say, the nice thing about these bans and the fact that there are 3, you can kind of constrain a whole playstyle. And so the shields going down is totally fine, but you still look at the tools that M80 have. I'm not going to be complaining all that much about Deimos still being on board, Grim, Ying still being on board, though they will let the Grim go. No Ying present either. Will bring that Deimos, but not as much execute ops, or even the Dokkaebi for intel as you might otherwise expect. Wildcard copying that previous CEO lineup pretty closely. In fact, I think aside from obviously the introduction of the Echo as the Goyo's band, I think it is the same lineup overall.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised to not see the Ying or the Dokkaebi, but I mean, they've not been that impactful. A lot of these rounds have been coming down to time, and if you're going to try and buy time, are you really looking at a Ying or a Dokkaebi? Maybe not. I think the Deimos is a good pick. If Hot and Cold can get a couple of good tracks and convert that information across to the rest of the team and see if they're able to get a nice early pick from it, then great. However, a lot of that was assisted by the fact that there was a big, horrible shield stood in the way of these defenders as soon as they tried to rotate on that top floor, and that really assisted in getting that opening pick. So again, it kind of leads you to believe how effective is that going to be. There's a bit of an Azami playing in and around console at the moment, and Baby Shark's got some real nice areas here that he can try and hold into. Currently in break and will be allowed to get out, but he's already soaked up a nade. Oh, and a great swing there from Dash, just really catching Gunnar off guard.
Really catching him off guard. I mean, once I saw Dash in that position, I'm like, oh, this is a little bit risky. I don't know, but it does pay off. And as Wildcard have been playing a very aggressive lineup, Dash actually retakes this position. I don't know, man. You've got some very useful utility. You got to be real careful here. Because if M80 check this angle, you've just lost 20 Shumika canisters. That would have been great for that plant denial.
I think something that's nice about the roster that Wildcard have brought is that they do still have the smoke, they do still have the Echo, they do still have a C4. So there's maybe an argument to say just how much denial does one team need, but the Shumikas would have been great. I think if Dash gets another kill, it maybe cements the round for them. As it stands, it is left in the balance for this final minute. You can see a Flores drone go in to remove a deployable shield. That's going to remove a place to hide. Baby Shark thinking about a little bit of a C4, but he's going to get Deimos. Has to run into the Mute Jammer to cleanse himself, but that Mute Jammer's a long old way away, and the kills start to come in.
You gotta be kidding me. Just immediately 2 go M80's way as they take full control of the site. Hot and Cold will back off out, and Kino watching that flank with the glass. Not a single stone left unturned or angle uncovered by the attack. As this round seemed dead even neutral between the two. And then, in a blink of an eye, it flies M80's way. Spiker so far out of position, he might be able to take down Hot and Cold with that toxic canister, but both his remaining utility goes wide as the Deimos puts that diffuser down without a single bit of his remaining HP untouched. Kino with the finisher will put M80 on match point as they seek redemption from yesterday.
Much better last minute of the round there from M80. Really well composed. And finally, an attack that doesn't just look either walkover or super one-dimensional in this series. They had plenty going on there, and that full across clear from admin really worked quite well for them. A little bit of a surprise, maybe, to see the timeout being taken at this point. Obviously, this game, it's been dominant from M80, but Wildcard have been on a little bit of a comeback over the last couple of rounds, obviously save round number 11. So for M80 to take this timeout here, and they just wanted to try and really lock it in and not make sure this thing doesn't go to OT.
It's kind of real stuff from Fabian. I'm not gonna lie. It's kind of real. It's kind of very, very real from Fabian. Because like, aside from that first round, think of how all these rounds have gone. Very similar to a wild card, all things considered, taking a really long time to get set up. In round 8, when they were attacking basement, I mean, they're going in with like 30 seconds left. Round 9, when they're attacking Expo, they take so long to clear on that top floor. Then one flank messes them up because, again, it's like 40, 30 seconds left right as they're pivoting down below. And then what happens in round 10? Wildcard play very aggressively over towards admin, get an opening pick. Sure, Dash dies, but they waste like half the round, and then it's a 4v4. Only reason, to be fair, only reason M80 won was because they did make a really good call. Speed up the pace, take fights in the site right as Wildcard are like repositioning, which is a bit of a gamble, but when you have players like you do on M80, it can pay off. But at the same time, if they lose those fights, that's the round, because again, you took too long to get set up. So I think Fabian probably noticing this trend over the past 3 rounds, because even though you won round 10, it was starting to look a lot like the 2 previous.
I kind of like it as well because it kind of instills we can always be better even if we win the round mindset. And I think that's something that's nice to have. You know, you can win a game, but you can still get better. And it's important not to sort of rest on those laurels. We're going to see a very different lineup, I guess, from both sides. We're seeing a Thatcher being brought, which isn't something that we get to see all the time.
Well,
there is, however, a lack of hard.
That's what I was going to say. That's so
for that Thatcher to be unlocking, shall we say? And there's quite a lot of hard breach denial. On the flip side, Wildcard have gone for a tuber out, and they've gone for the cave. So I really want to see where this push goes. I just hope to God it isn't yellow stairs, because I feel like we've seen enough of that map, enough of that part of the map for the day. But we'll see. I guess we'll see.
Thankfully, the only shotgun on board is a TCSG, so really hoping we don't see any yellow stairs action. No tools brought by the defense, no tools brought by the attack. Saving to focus on that position. But this is a really curious lineup. I have to agree, not only no hard breach, but also very minimal vertical destruction. Only breach charges in the hands of Hot and Cold. Gavini will immediately hop in, though. They're just looking to send it. The opening call goes out, sprinting down those spiral stairs. Not a single bit of utility used, but are they ready for it? Hot and Cold pushing up front, trying to draw a lot of attention. You can see all these defenders are looking towards front side, not gazing at Spiral at the moment. But the TCSG might notice it. He peeks around the corner. Gavini wins the fight, but the jig is up. M80 have been spotted by this defense, and Baby Shark will stop any further aggression by this attack. He's put to 1 HP, but he stopped what could have been a very dangerous flank by M80 down Spiral.
How has Baby Shark survived that, by the way? He's basically tanked a shotgun to the stomach. That was a little bit disgusting. I think Kino could maybe be forgiven for thinking he'd killed him. The Pulse was maybe sat there scratching their head a little bit as well. Kansan like, well, where are they at the moment, guys? You know, and actually, Kino is just sprinting himself down yellow. Now, Baby Shark is pretty low, but we come back to what we mentioned at the start. There's no hard breach here. We've not even got a secondary tin opener. So it's going to be quite difficult. Now, fortunately, the hatch is open. Diffuser is going to be occupying that space. There aren't really... Well, there is one C4 to contend with. I think Spiker has already sent his. I'm not sure he's pre-placed it or not. So they can start to try and work this vert a little bit, I guess. Hot and Cold's got some breaching charges. But realistically, this is a hatch drop and a yellow stairs push. Very likely that C4 should land and will. Diffuser sent down. Man count advantage now in the final few seconds for Wildcard.
Man advantage and then some. I mean, Ollie, the moment that rush didn't work out, the thing I was thinking was, well, what do you do now? Where do you go? No hard breach, no vertical, no nothing. You lost the Ying too for that execute. What the hell are you gonna do now that that gamble didn't pay off? And you mentioned Kansan on that pulse. I have to think he's probably the MVP of that round because you see every defender, every single one, all 5 looking towards front side. We cut to him, he's flipping out that heartbeat scanner, and I have to imagine he looks right and sees 2 people all the way down bottom spiral, and that Cade immediately flips around and is like, oh god, this could get really bad, I have to stop this. And he does, Baby Shark too. As you mentioned, losing almost all of his HP, but not his life, as he peeks around the corner and is able to take down the Ying. I mean, if he falls right there, Ollie, that might be 7-4 victory for M80, but Baby Shark just getting away with highway robbery keeps Wildcard in the game potentially.
I think Gav as well, like, he kind of got distracted and went halfway up spiral, because he was behind and he was almost the bait for Kino to play off the back of, and they were kind of in a great spot of being able to bait each other. One bullet is all that it would have taken from any gun in the game, and Gav could have been there to deliver that bullet, and he just wasn't. It was really brutal.
5 seconds to go.
I'm kind of flabbergasted at the lack of hard breach. I mean, lack of hard breach is fine, but then the lineup and what the idea was, it doesn't kind of marry up, and you think that was after a timeout. It just seems a little bit strange. M80 still have a chance at taking this in regulation. It is, of course, 6-5. And hey, we've got what we wanted. We wanted a game. And so far, we have had a fairly close game, despite on the face of it, it looking, you know, maybe a little bit one way or another at times. We've managed to get 11 rounds out of it. So let's see how it goes.
Full 12-rounder going the distance. Most of Wildcard's games have. Aside from the first day where they lost 7-4, each game has gone either 12 rounds or more. They will keep it close against some of the best teams in the league. 8-6 against SSG, 7-5 against Shopify yesterday. Only one of those are victories. Maybe their second will also come in OT with just one more consulate defense. Lobby and exposition. Look at how many damn defenders are on this top floor. It is, I think, 4 upstairs at the moment. But 2 to 3 of them stationed quite aggressively against players like Gavini right now, who will move into admin, and there is an Azami playing vending just around the corner.
Little angle there. I don't think any feet can be seen of any. Had a very good clue that somebody was going to be through there. The drones paying dividends at the moment for M80. The time again, it's going to come down to it. We're at the halfway point in the round, and you kind of look at what's happened and you think, okay, maybe. Smoke gets thrown. Selma's going to open that wall open, but
No, I think they shot it.
M80 should know this jig because they played the vert. They know the vertical angles. They use them themselves. Surely they don't fall foul to them.
I mean, Ollie, how many of these attacks have really felt like replays of what Wildcard struggled with? How many times have we seen them struggle with that clock? And in this case, as you just said, start losing utility and losing time to the same vertical angles they pulled out against Wildcard on the defense. The exact same ones. 50 seconds remaining as a Dokkaebi call goes out. Hot and Cold still has one, but none of these defenders upstairs have fallen. Kino will take a lot of damage as M80 have found their way into sight. Air jab around the corner, but Bay on Overwatch will take one down. It's still even. 4v4, but 2 M80 players are on such low HP as Hot and Cold has to pull back. That initial gambit, that initial play into the site didn't work out, so the last call goes, and with Ace covering prone just behind him, tries to put the diffuser down again. Where are these vertical angles? Where's the coverage? Gunner falls, but the diffuser goes down successfully. Still 2 players, oh so low for M80. Ripe for the taking for Wildcard on this defense, but Dash, in a key moment, he'll fall on the hatch to the player inside of Art. Wildcard need to find a way down to the bottom floor. 22 seconds before that diffuser is beyond the pale. How are they going to find it? How are they going to play together? M80 have pulled back and reset. You can't catch them off guard anymore. They've suddenly snuck their way in and might snatch even a single point in the standings away from Wildcard's grasp. Only 5 seconds remaining, and M80 have cut them down. Baby Shark on the defuse, the last one standing. Baptized and educated yesterday, but in Remedial Rainbow Six on day 4, M80 pass, take the win over Wildcard.
They certainly did not make it easy for themselves. M80, they come away with the full 3 points, but at what cost? That was a close game, and it really feels like it shouldn't have been. Obviously, they can be happy with themselves. They got the 3 points. Wildcard, I think they gave a fantastic account of themselves, and their tenacity throughout the course of the game to not give up was commendable. They exited that first phase at 4-2, down. So you would expect it to be a fairly straightforward close to the game there for M80. But boy, oh boy, it was not close at all. It was not straightforward at all. We saw a lot of mistakes from both sides. I'm going to be honest, there was a lot of times where we were left scratching our heads. But M80 have proved one thing, and that is that we've just got to maybe give them a little bit more trust in those final few stages.
Absolutely. But that is our first game done and dusted. We'll see you right after this.
Right here.
I have first.
Comes. The BP that might see you, Matt. Front hatch. Just left, guys. Not much time left.
I have first.
Walk it through sight.
Get close on Matt. On bomb.
Hitting. Peek, Matt.
Yes! Let's go, boys.
I'm so good, bro. I'm so fucking good.
I'm so good.
You got the bomb down there.
All right, a little bit of a celebration from the side of M80 after their win against Wildcard, something that they clearly needed considering how yesterday's game went. A little bit of a morale boost, a little bit of a confidence boost. So, great start.
Yeah, obviously it's a great start. I mean, M80 looked like they should have closed it out a lot sooner, honestly. We were watching it, and it wasn't the most impressive showing from M80. Obviously, you know, they had their own issues in that game, but it felt more like Wildcard losing the game than it did M80 winning up until that last round. That last post-plant execute, man-down disadvantage, the strategy for them to go for the plant with cover over it, and Honkle was able to get that plant down. And then the post-plant, that was great. If we could have consistent M80 rounds like that all the way through, I'd imagine we'd be seeing decisive wins. That being said, looked like Wildcard, still same issues, Dash underperforming. The rest of the team didn't really show up.
Yeah, I mean, well, I know we say underperforming, but he did have some pretty big rounds, but it just, all in all, the team fell apart in the end, and I think that is off the back. And there were a lot of fumbles on both ends. I think the caster said it best. You know, there was a lot of head scratching from both sides, but all in all, if you're M80, you got the job done. You win 7-5, you win in regulation. That's the important bit, and you get those 3 points, because the biggest thing is making playoffs and being able to then go into those best of threes.
And get as many points as possible. And the Blacklight detail as well for this game is going to be going over to Kino, because that was some big brain 5-head play.
No, it absolutely was, and it was something that really stuck out to me, whether it was just done by prep or whether it was just done by a good heads-up play from Kino. I mean, just sitting in the smoke here, this is where Fox actually highlighted Kansan during that SSG game, was going through this smoke, going for a big flank where, like I said, whether Kino just did this himself or was prep in advance, sitting in the smoke, baiting out Kansan there to stop that potential flank was just such a good heads-up play from Kino, and I really enjoyed seeing that done and displayed there.
Yeah, Wildcard went for the exact same retake. Same situation. They're in a man down. Kansan goes for the push. Obviously, M80 was just keen to it. I mean, specifically, Kino was using that smoke. Luckily, he had the glass. He heard the sound cue, turned around. And I mean, really good play from M80. I feel like that, at the end of the day, that's really the one decider, was that M80 just individually stacked up way better to Wildcard as a whole.
Yeah, we have Kino ready as well for the interview. I guess a bit of a treat for everybody considering the performance today. Congrats on getting 3 points on the board this week. How has it been? What was it like going from what happened yesterday, which I don't know, I'm assuming you don't want to talk about, to coming in today and all right.
Didn't happen.
Didn't happen. It was fake news. But coming into today and like actually being able to lock in as a team and just like really go for it.
Feels good. I feel like we didn't play like ourselves yesterday. I mean, everyone saw that.
Why do you think that is?
Good question. DZs, they're just too nice. Like you can't stop those guys, you know.
Right.
Maybe we'll try to do something for the best of threes for playoffs, but like they're too good.
Yeah, I don't think anybody expected the outcome from yesterday. Today was a little bit more expected, but when it came down to playing against Wildcard, obviously the map that you guys went to, Consulate, there was a lot of innovation with the glass that you were on specifically bringing. Did Wildcard's game against SSG give you guys that confidence to know, okay, we know exactly what we're going to be countering here. We know the plays that they're going to be doing. Was that the reason for the Consulate pick, or was it just more of a comfortability approach from you guys?
I mean, obviously, like we had thoughts on them. We kind of knew, you know, some of what they were gonna do. But at the end of the day, it was constantly is a comfort map for us, and it's a map we're comfortable on. And as soon as we banned Warden and we had Ying and Glass up, I knew we would have some good attacks there. And even on third ban, they didn't ban either. They banned Monty on third.
Well, Kino, congratulations on the 3 points. I want to talk about, you know, me and Fox were saying on the desk here is that we felt more Wildcard was handing this win to you guys more than you were kind of taking hold within those rounds, because in the beginning it kind of looked like you guys had a grasp on things, but then it immediately started to fumble a little bit. What were kind of the issues in those rounds that was allowing Wildcard to get their foot back in the door?
Well, on defense, we kind of got picked apart on those 2 rounds we lost. And on attack, I feel like we stalled so hard. There was a piano attack that our plan was to take top, and we executed top floor with a minute left. So they did a very good job of playing Tachanka, Smoke, and Goyo on most of the sites, stalling us out, and I feel like that kind of caught us off guard. Even with the Ying and the Smoke, we just had to adjust the pace a little bit and make sure everything was a little faster, and we fixed it.
For sure.
All right, well, thank you so much for your time. And again, congrats on the win. 3 points added for you guys. We'll see you around next week. We're going to let you go. Take care.
Thank you, guys. See you next week.
Bye. Okay. Well, at least, you know, a bit of awareness coming through as well. And when you're looking at a team like M80, just the players, but also the coaching staff behind it, obviously they're going to take whatever the learnings they had from this week into consideration. I think a lot of learnings coming from that DZ game, but even from the Wildcard game, and just improving on that moving forward. But for me, the question then remains when it comes to Wildcard, what's going on there? Because you've already now had 4 best of ones out of the 9 best of ones that you're going to play. No, out of the 8 best of ones that you're going to play. You're halfway.
I think they're losing a little bit of confidence in some of their players. We talked heavily on Dash being kind of that spear front, and then he's being rotated off shields. Then you see Baby Shark on shields. Then you understand, okay, the team is playing from above. Why not? Why don't we focus and do above? Like, there's not enough problem solving, and I don't think there's enough confidence in some of the players' abilities that there were back in Reload versus now, and I think that is being a huge staple and a huge reason as to why they can't just cross that finish line.
Absolutely. It comes down to the confidence. I mean, obviously, to go from Reload to struggling within the stage, I mean, no one expected Wildcard to be as strong as they were in Reload, but with the performance that they put up, they come here, they start struggling. Obviously, they have their own interpersonal issues with the team house and everything, but like we talked about, this has to be the last week that we talk about it. At this point, you've had 2 weeks to be able to figure things out, but when you look at it in a micro aspect from the game, there was a lot of situations where one player would go down and immediately Wildcard is scrambling. Everyone's all playing for themselves. Everyone's trying to win the round on their own. I think that's probably the biggest issue, is they just need to have a little bit more faith in the IGL, in the game plan that they have going a hold, and obviously just trust that because it works so well in Reload. Don't overcomplicate it. Yes, you guys had a great showing in Reload, but you don't have to rely on big performances to be able to winning these games.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, and that's where I was really worried about with going into the stage. Was Reload just a honeymoon? Was it just everyone coming together, having a good time, and they didn't have to meet any problems? They just immediately found success, and that can actually really hinder teams, because once you find that success so early, then you keep trying to chase that same success when you're creating even more problems and not addressing the right approach of one thing right after the other. You just keep piling it on, and that's honestly, I think, what we're seeing more so than anything.
A concerning situation for them to be in, but we do have DZ going up against Cloud9 after the break, and DZ really, you know, they're the top dogs at this point in the league. No one is yet to defeat them. Maybe Cloud9 can make that happen. Stick around and find out.